Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything. This week, we are diving right into, one of the topic that we hadn't even decided we were going to talk about until this afternoon, this afternoon.
On brand, baby, on brand. Well, actually, I brought it up last night. So.
You did, and I didn't even answer you last night. I was like, let me think about it, and then I fell asleep. But anyways, we're going to talk about Bash in Berlin, the latest WWE pay-per-view from the continent. And we'll go over the winners, losers, our thoughts on that, and neither one of us took notes, so this is going to be real interesting. Buckle up, Buttercut. With me, as I am, by the way, I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is my partner in idiocy for over 2 decades, a man who requires no introduction, but contractually obligates me to give him one every single show. Anyways, I give you the man they call Tim.
Wait, did you just feel that?
Feel
that underneath your feet?
Feel what?
I think, yeah, I think the Earth stopped rotating for a moment.
I'm pretty sure you just have gas.
You know why?
Why?
Because finally,
we're not
Uncle
even into
Todd.
that part of the show yet. We're not into that part of the show.
That's
Hold
okay.
on.
Oh, wait. You're going to interrupt my gimmick?
I am. Because we have to have these things in the proper order, sir.
You just did the intro off the cuff.
You're right.
It's so funky.
Yeah,
now we're officially into your part of the show, so go right ahead. You didn't even ask me how I'm doing.
I was going to once I finished my bit.
Yeah, you should have done those in reverse. You had to do the bit. You do the bit now. No one cares how I am anyway.
Gosh. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Those bitters are getting to you, aren't they?
I think they are.
Before we started the show, the man they called Tim's like, ooh, look what I found here in my office from like 1985. Orange bitters. Here, he puts them in his bourbon. Then he's like, I don't taste it. Then he takes it out and he's like, dropping them onto his tongue. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I fully expect him to be hallucinating in 45 minutes because those have definitely gone off. There's going to be something really wrong. See? Right there. That's the start of it.
You got to stop making me laugh is the
Within
problem.
15 minutes.
Huss.
He's going to start licking himself.
Oh, my gosh.
I'll have to pixelate him.
Now that we've started the segment, how are you doing, sir?
No one cares.
Oh, stop it. Yes, they do.
I'm doing well, and yourself, sir?
I am doing very well.
Good.
We are coming off of a holiday weekend. That was
gluttony.
A little bit. It was restful. It was relaxing. It was
cholesterol raising.
Cholesterol raising, yes, indeed. I ate out quite a bit, and the one night we didn't. Well, the man they called Tim went to town on all the meats. So
you know how isn't it? It's like an urban legend. Everybody winds up with 10 pounds of undigested red meat in their colon by the time they're dead or whatever.
Yeah.
That's going to be you, but it's going to be 35, 40 pounds.
Could be. Yep. Saturday night, grilled up 2 New York strips and got myself 2 mild Italian sausages, and I put all 4 of those bad boys away.
Normally that feeds a family of 3.
I was hungry. What could I say? Hadn't eaten for most of the day. You know what I mean? I was saving up for that. That was
by most of the day. He means since 2 p.m.
Look, I had my chai tea latte iced by, I'll have you know, almond milk on.
Good. So you had 500 grams of sugar to start.
I had the sugar bomb, as Uncle Todd calls it. I had the sugar bomb. But,
diabetes, then red meat. That's perfect.
Hey, you know what?
It's the Wilford Brimley special.
It works. But yeah, had a good holiday weekend, relaxed, celebrated 23 years with my wife. on Sunday, and we did it up. We went out for brunch, went out for dinner, and it was beautiful weather here. We were able to be outside and just kind of enjoy things. And so, yeah, it was a fun weekend, and all recharged and raring to go. So,
well, on behalf of me and my family and all of our listeners, congratulates to you on 23 years of wedded bliss, and to your lovely, wonderful wife. We're all very sorry.
Well, I suppose it is what it is.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
Hey, that's my line. Never mind.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
So, and yours was good.
It was very restful. The funny part is we ended up going for barbecue twice because my wife was just like, I want pulled pork. I'm like, all right, whatever. I didn't have any better ideas, so we went and did that. That was pretty good. I'm ruined forever for barbecue by Green Street Meats.
Yeah.
Nothing else compares. It's I hear Sinead O'Connor in my head every time I try and go to another barbecue place. It's ridiculous. A friend of mine was in Chicago with his family this past weekend or week, last week or over the weekend, one or the other. I can't remember, but I saw pictures on Facebook and immediately texted him like, dude, are you still in Chicago? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you got to go to Green Street Meats. Get the cornbread. Don't text me how good it is. I know it's good. I miss it dearly. Enjoy. Like literally just panting as I'm texting him.
That was a little creepy. Good God.
I was like the chubby kid when they bring out the birthday cake in elementary school.
Did he go?
I don't know. I told him not to text me. I don't want to know. Like here's a free piece of advice. Don't text me pictures. Don't tell me how wonderful it is, because then my heart will ache.
Okay. All right.
However, I now know that there's really cheap plane tickets, so there is the possibility that one day I might show up your doorstep on a random day. Like, hey, you want to go for lunch?
Oh, I open the door and there he is. I went to Green Street and I overdid it.
I wouldn't go without you.
Well, it might just be, a
drag you there.
Might be a starter or something like that. Very nice. Very nice.
But yeah, so that was the weekend, culminating last night with what I believe you were going to go into your bit.
Just for the record, I did not just do one, but two drafts last night. I did that one, and then I do another one, which is one with a family we're friends with.
You didn't even tell what the drafts are for. You didn't even finish your bit. I wanted to set you up properly, and you didn't finish your bit. So go ahead and
I will, once again say that the Earth stopped rotating because Uncle Todd finally has come back to fantasy football.
I feel dirty.
When did you text me? Was it Friday night? Because I think
it's Thursday or Friday, I think, yeah.
I thought I was out to eat and had a couple bourbons in me when I got the text, like, what the heck?
That's when you're like, honey, you're going to have to drive home. I'm obviously wasted.
Like,
I'm misreading this.
Can you read this and make sure I'm reading it correctly? Did he say he wants to join the league? But yes, you did. You wanted to join. You felt the pull. You had to give it another go.
Yep. And this year, Gerard's juggernaut will be triumphant. I don't care what Yahoo says about my drafting grade that they assign me.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. I've got depth. I'm going all the way to the top this year. I'm coming back, and I'm going to win the whole thing.
Last season, I got a C. Mm-hmm. And Uncle Todd was willing or wishing me, probably a little bit of both, to be sub 500, and my team, outmaneuvered the curse that he was putting on, and I made it to the semifinals.
What was your final record, though? Were you just over 500, though?
I was not just over. I was well over.
Okay, what's well?
One moment, please.
Excuse me. I actually could look it up. I've got one of these windows open.
For the season 9-5-1. That was well above 500. Well above 500.
It's all right.
And I went all the way to let's see. Yeah, I got bounced in the semifinals by 9 points.
And what was your draft grade?
And my draft grade for that year was a...
Oh, no, I mean this year.
Oh, this year I got a B. I was fourth.
Yeah, I got the big old Charlie Brown D minus. No, they gave me just a straight D. That's all right.
But, ladies and gentlemen, when Uncle Todd wanted to join, the way Yahoo works is we need to have an even number of teams. So I had to resurrect what I call the garbage team. And this is where I literally staff the entire team with nothing but players who are either on the IR or never going to play for the season. This is a joke team that we just use to balance things out so we can draft.
Which is a much better way than I used to do it, because I think I did it, or maybe it was when you first took over as commish, and that team would just draft itself, so it would actually have good players.
I think it would be like a competitive team.
I never thought about doing like you did and having a burner account and swapping back and forth.
Which, I mean, for those who are in the league listening, and hopefully that's not anyone, but like I did the math, and unfortunately, like, I think 6 out of the 10 teams are going to play that team twice, and then the other 3 or 4 don't.
At all?
Sorry, the other teams play once. So 5 or 6 teams in the league get 2 free wins. The rest only get 1 free win. I didn't mean to make that happen.
I have no idea what my schedule is. Let's see here. Anyways, no need to find that right now.
But the garbage team, of course, got an F because I drafted complete crap other than the defense, which there is no garbage defense that I can draft, so I drafted Arizona. So, sorry, Cardinals fans, but you're anchoring the garbage team. So that will be the only source of points for that team.
And then second to worst grade in the league was?
Let me look. Gerard's Juggernaut, welcome back. I'm
telling you though, I got depth. I got some good players. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't know who half of them are, but I'm feeling pretty good.
You're gonna outperform expectations.
I've been doing it for 48 years. I mean, just barely, but still.
Come on.
Anywho.
All right. Well, we will be back at it with the Tales from the Gridiron next week. As we summarize and discuss week number 1, that'll be in the books when we talk. And I'm looking forward to hearing the old-timey football background music as we do.
Yeah.
Got to bring that gimmick back. All right. Our next 2 items are somewhat related, and it's been a couple of weeks, maybe more than that, since this trailer came out. But I thought we would do a live trailer watch of Skeleton Crew, the next Star Wars television show, sure to be shot down by all the fans because that's what they do these days. And we'll talk about that more next week. Little tease for next week, for next episode.
It really is like skeet shooting for Star Wars fans, isn't it? Like,
gosh.
ooh, this thing. Pull!
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
It was going to suck anyways.
Let's figure out what we can complain about and then, just blast the heck out of it while we're complaining. So, But yeah, so I have here a link to the Skeleton Crew trailer, which came out. Let me actually, I'm going to click on it.
It's been 3 weeks. I've got it right here.
So we're not that out of it, but a little bit. Hey, we're not paid for this, so we're not.
Hey,
the moon were made out of. Never mind.
Yes,
all right.
Yes, I would.
Yes, I would. All right, so do you have it queued up?
I do.
All right. Let me get the volume adjusted so I can actually hear you and it while it plays. All right, and this is Jude Law, of course, is one of the big stars of this one. So, All right, we will count it down. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Oh, what's going on here in Star Wars Suburbia?
That is the thing. This is the first time we've seen galactic suburbia.
Yes.
Which is very cool.
You know what would have been cool? Like a Star Wars breakfast club. Is that where we're heading with this?
Could be. Yeah, I think I saw some of those great like air bikes from like Book of Boba Fett flying around.
Actually, this feels a little bit more like Star Wars Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
first time I saw this, definitely has a Goonies feel to it, I gotta say. Goonies through and through. Yep. It's a cave. It's got to be a lost Jedi temple.
Well,
that's what all caves are.
Well, that's what every kid's thinking. That's what you want.
I gotta say, in this galaxy, I just love how even the caves have like, computers and structure and lights and everything. I mean, it's like crazy.
Yeah. No, this could be seriously fun.
It could.
Like, yeah, this definitely there's a Flight of the Navigator Goonies sort of feel to this,
Yeah.
for sure. Was that an owl?
Looks like an owl.
Much better
Crazy
than
creatures.
the sea otter,
Oh, the kids
space
start
otter.
shooting. Look out. Oh, the key
Ooh.
floats. How did the key float? And there he is.
Baldy McBalderson.
The mysterious man of the skeleton crew, Jude Law. Well, what do you think, sir?
I mean, it looks good.
Yeah.
The Acolyte looked good. I'm not sure what to believe at this point. I think it's if they stick with it kind of being like a Goonies-ish sort of kid-based adventure, I think that could be a lot of fun because it really kind of helps tie you back into when most of us discovered Star Wars is when we were kids. Even like kids growing up now, they're discovering, like my daughter discovered Star Wars as a kid.
Yeah.
And so every time she's going to see something from now on, there'll be a part of her that kind of ties back into childhood. And I think that's for most of us. So that's what makes movies like this or shows like this kind of fun is even for adults, you kind of somewhere in your brain, there's a synapse that loops back and fires. And it's like, this is what it's like to be a kid again.
Mm-hmm.
So on that level, I think it has a lot of potential. So hopefully it's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's a fun yarn and a fun adventure and doesn't get bogged down, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it like I mentioned, I like the Goonies feel of it, which is what I kind of came away with at first. With all of these shows, I like how they are giving us a different view of the galaxy, and of course, this is where we get into that sad space of unless it's like exactly like I honestly at this stage don't know what some of these fans that are complaining want anymore. Like I don't know what they could.
I
Put
don't
in
think
front
they
of them.
want it. I don't think they know either.
They don't know.
Really
they just
don't.
want to. They're just a bunch of trolls that want to complain. And so, I'm very optimistic about this. I watched Acolyte, and we'll talk about it next episode. But was it the best work they put out? No. Was it something that gave us a different perspective on the galaxy and kind of the history behind it? Absolutely. And here's another view, which is going to be set in New Republic times, and this will lead into our next article. But I'm kind of curious, where they're going to go, with this, and we don't really get a sense other than the kids just kind of getting on a ship and the ship having a mind of its own. But where is this all really going, and what is this all really about, and what is it going to lead to? And so, that part I'm definitely looking forward to kind of understanding a bit better. And so I just hope, for the sake of, those with, much like I went through with my youngest, who is, in his early 20s, unfortunately the internet community kind of ruined Acolyte for him before he even watched any of it. I'm kind of hoping like we were able to, get some good vibes from this thing, and that this is something that we, can enjoy collectively. And if not, I'm getting concerned, like what is Disney going to do with Star Wars moving forward if it's not, if it's not performing up to, what the business needs. So,
well, if you listen to most of these Star Wars fans now, the big thing that I've heard way too often is, Star Wars has sucked ever since Disney bought it. I wish George would come back. George would fix everything. Yeah. George would make everything great. George would give us all $1 million and donuts for breakfast. That's how much George is. George is a good guy. George is great. And it's like, y'all ever? So me and my daughter started watching Attack of the Clones the other day, and we didn't finish it. Just I don't know. We had something else going on.
Principle?
So no, we got to about 2/3 of it.
Yeah.
And just watching it, I just at one point I turned to my daughter. And I was like, "My God, is Anakin a creep or what?" Like,
yeah,
like he is a walking red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Padme is gonna marry this goofus in about an hour and a half. Like every red flag you could possibly imagine is flying bright in the sunshine. Yep. He's a creep. He's a weirdo. He's definitely sociopathic. And but I can change him. Like, oh my God. Like, yes, this is the guy we want to come back.
Mhm.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? At any rate,
he gets better later on. It just takes about 40 years for him to get better. All right. So that is the Skeleton Crew trailer. So I would say we're both bullish. Would you say bullish on this? Bullish?
yeah, why not?
Bullish?
Let's piss
All
off
right.
some Star Wars fans.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Next article comes not from my good friend Murph from Murphy's Multiverse. No, we're going to give Murph a breather here. We're going back to our good friends at ScreenRant.com, purveyors,
someone reputable.
purveyors of all geeky sci-fi, Star Wars, and Marvel.
Screen Rant at this point is probably one dude with like Chat GPT and his Google Gemini in his basement writing it.
Very well could be. Very well.
Cut right down to the bone.
But this comes. This article comes with a very interesting theory about Jude Law's character from Skeleton Crew, and I like this mostly because of where it could lead to. And the theory is, so apparently in this show, Jude Law's character's name, it's not Ki Adi Mundi, but it is Jod Na Nawud. I love how Star
So
Wars
are we just taking a bag of Scrabble pieces and just going?
Yeah, I think basically. So Jod, it actually sounds like something from like Superman's planet. Jod Na Nawud.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I get it. Like, they're grabbing, in some cases, names from different languages or different areas and tweaking them and all that. But it feels like in some cases it's like, it feels a little just ham-fisted. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm in a mood. Anyways, what about Jod?
This the theory
Yes.
ties into Thrawn, which I find very interesting. And so what this article is proposing in terms of this theory is that what we end up finding out is maybe throughout this show, his character is a force of good with the kids. But we later on find out that he is or will be tied in with Thrawn as not being who we think he is through his name, but rather he is going to be the live television version of Joruus C'baoth, who is from the Heir to the Empire trilogy and is the Dark Jedi Master that Thrawn in some ways uses to help coordinate his attacks as he starts to rain terror upon the galaxy.
Okay, the question I have with that though is, so Joruus, he wasn't always a dark Jedi. He was a good guy because he was on that
his clone became a dark Jedi.
Yes, but how would this guy become that guy as a already established person? Like all of a sudden he just changes his name as, hey, by the way, I'm Joruus, and everyone at the Jedi Temple's like, hey, sure, whatever. Okay, I mean, it worked for Van Damme in on Ted Lasso. So I mean,
it did.
Zorro to Van Damme to Zorro.
I love how you bring up the Van Damme reference. Very nice, sir. Have you finished the series, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to hear what you thought.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize. Okay.
All right. Well, that's another episode in the hopper. So we will talk Ted Lasso probably 2 episodes out here. But no, like I mean, I don't know the story behind it, but I'm wondering if there's definitely a story reason why he's keeping his identity kind of a secret, that he's...
Oh, so he might be the other guy and just using Jod.
Like he's using this Jod Na Nawud name to be, secretive while he is kind of making his way through the galaxy and then connects up with Thrawn, and we end up finding out that he has a much darker sort of purpose than we originally thought. And I don't know, maybe that comes out as part of the show that we end up finding this out. So, but this article is basically, calling into question, whose side is Jod really on? Is he really going to be on the light side, or is he going to be on the dark side? According to Law, this is from the article. Ultimately, he's part of the crew. Some want him part of it, some don't want him part of it. I can't give too much away. I'm going to say he's full of contradictions, and so I don't know how this is going to materialize if this is in fact what or who he is. But it sounds like there is some mystery around his character. Like his character isn't all that he seems to be when we first see him. And I think that's a really interesting kind of hook for the show, to which you have to imagine is going to link into the larger scheme of things. Otherwise, why would you do this? I mean, the show, like I said, is set in the New Republic. It is set after Return of the Jedi. It is set in the time frame that we're talking, where Thrawn and Ahsoka and Mandalorian exist. So it is completely within the realm of possibility that he plays a role of some kind in that timeline and with those characters. The question is he going to be a force of good or a force of evil? And so it's interesting to see, what it ends up being. But I brought this in because I just thought it was, I was kind of wondering if Filoni was going to go with a Jorah Sabath kind of character as we get deeper into Thrawn, live action, or was he going to go some other route with him? Because there is that element, for those not familiar with the trilogy of books, you have to go way back in our archives for when we talk with Jimmy Dice about these books.
Well worth the dive, though.
It is. And do read the books. The books are really well done. Timothy Zahn, phenomenal job back in the early 90s. But the key role that Sabath plays, especially in the early books, which was a really cool, application of the Force, is doing this sort of approach where Sabath is basically kind of through the Force coordinating the generals and kind of the ships that are attacking. And so there's like this coordination going on that's above and beyond kind of the standard military sort of strategy that goes on. That's like in real time, where he's reacting to what's going on and kind of manipulating the people of, Thrawn's people to more effectively attack the Republic. And so I think if they're going to go that route and bring this to bear, I think that's going to be a really, really interesting way to materialize it in live action. But what are your thoughts, sir?
I mean, it could be. It's one of those things that sounds a little too cute fanboy for me. Like it sounds really fun and awesome, and probably won't happen. If it does, hey, great. I hope they find a way to explain the whole battle. What do they call it? It was like battle coordination or something. I hope they find a way to explain that cinematically, because in the book you have a lot more time to banter about and explain all that. In a TV show or a movie, you're going to have to come up with a way to make that a shorthand thing and make sure that people understand it's happening when it's happening, and all that stuff. And it becomes a different thing entirely. It could be cool. I tend to think it's not going to happen. But that's me.
All right.
I am cynical.
You are, if nothing else. I figured you would be for this because you have been really jonesing for the live action debut of Luke.
Like 4 U's. With the way they're naming characters now, it'd be like 4 U's and 5 apostrophes.
Or maybe it'd be Luke Dadadoo. Can we give him 3 names?
It'd be like Luke Dadaduke or Luke Lelouch.
It could be. Lelouch. Oh, God. Nuke Lelouch, baby. Little Bull Durham. That's another episode we should do. The greatness of Bull Durham.
Why is he calling me meat? I'm the one driving a Porsche.
That's phenomenal. All right. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is an abbreviated yet perfunctory week in Geek.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir, once again for dragging me through the mud in fantasy football, and then finding a couple of items for us to talk about. And now on to the main event, which we had not planned on talking about this, but as it turns out, it's a pretty damn good event. So
we were texting each other over the weekend, like, "Hey, have you checked this out? Hey, have you checked this out?" Dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was an early call on Saturday, but I didn't get a chance to start it till a little bit later. I think it was actually over when I started it, because it was nice not having to. Yes, it had to have been over because I only got the event. I didn't get the pre-show. So I started like right at the beginning of the event, which was so nice, not having to like use Peacock's terrible scrubbing interface and try and find your way through, because it doesn't give you a little preview. You just have to like guesstimate and find it. And then if you
I have a story
inadvertently hit a wrong, thing, if you have like the Apple TV remote and you like breathe on it the wrong way, all of a sudden you're back at the beginning, which is a hoot. But anyways, yeah. So I think I started this like 7 or 8 on Saturday, and once again intended to only watch for a little while, and then ended up watching the entire damn thing. Even had the wife watching for a little while.
What was she like? Where did she come in on it?
She started with at the beginning because I cracked open some French onion dip and chips, and she is like a crack addict with chips. So she was there for the chips and dip. I didn't bribe her. I just had it open on the couch, and she came over. It was like having one of those wooden boxes with the little stick holding it up.
Basically,
is that sort of a trap? But she actually watched the opening match with me for a little while.
Nice.
And she actually thought Owens was going to win. So it was kind of interesting seeing her perspective on it. But anyways, cool. But yeah, and then you caught it what, Sunday afternoon or?
So I did it across both days. I watched a little bit of it Saturday night, and then which actually leads to, oh shoot, I should have done this for the week in Geek. Maybe I'll do it toward the end. So my wife and I watched The Fall Guy, the extended cut version that was on Peacock. I'll talk about it later. Oh my god, holy moly!
Did you need the extended cut, or would you have been rather have gotten like a Cliff Notes half-hour version?
All right, I'll just explain this real quick. No, seriously. Like, have you seen The Fall Guy? Like the movie that was in theaters?
I've seen Lee Majors' original TV show.
By the way, who makes an appearance?
Of course he does.
They do.
Actually, Lee Majors is still alive?
He is. Heather Thomas was also there too.
Is it Heather Thomas or what?
Heather Thomas.
Okay.
One of the Heathers, not Locklear.
Okay. Thomas. Yes. All right. Gotcha.
But I don't know if this was a factor of just the extended cut or if this is what was in theaters. But the movie starts with this narrator voice who's basically reading what you would expect to see in the script as like stage guidance or something. Like I don't know how else to put it. It's just like stage notes or something.
Yeah.
But this narrator continues for the entire movie to the point where he's actually saying things that haven't happened yet. So you're about to see and I'm like, why did they do this? It was like, we were about 45 minutes into the movie and my wife was like, I'm done. Like, this is like, and I kept watching it because I'm like, oh, surely it's going to get better. And the story was okay. I mean, it had kind of an interesting plot to it to some degree, but that just took us out of it. It was just like, why did they have to do this?
That's bizarre.
It was real. And then when we get to the credits, you figure, okay, the movie's done. The voice will stop. No, it keeps going. It's narrating everything going on in the end credits too, which I'm just like,
are you sure you didn't have on like some sort of like,
okay, so
audio subtitles or something?
Nope. At the end, I played another movie on Peacock. Of course, it didn't happen. And then I played it again, Fall Guy. I went back and played it again. I checked my options. Everything was turned off. So I don't know what the heck happened. I don't know if it was a byproduct of the extended cut and the theater cut was different. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. But that is why I only watched part of it Saturday, because I was going to watch, a movie with my wife. And so I basically watched up to the start of the Punk McIntyre match. And then I broke at that point and then watched the rest Sunday early afternoon. Where I watched Punk McIntyre. I think it was the Priest Ripley Morgan Mysterio match, and then the main event. So, but hell of a card. And I have a number of reasons why I say hell of a card, which I'll get into as we get going here. But overall, I'm digging this era of WWE, man. I really am. Holy moly.
I think going back to, I felt like SummerSlam was a bit of a divergence. I feel like they tried something a little different to make sure that they were on the right path, where they tried to do a little extra storytelling during the PLE. And I'm glad to see them go back to this, because I really feel like the storytelling is best left for television. And then your premium live event is just that. These are the matches, and let the matches breathe. And if you're going to have your commercials and all that in between, all that fun stuff, but let the matches be the matches. Give them that room to breathe, and have that be the blow off or the continuation of the feud through a story that is told within the match, not like a promo and 5 backstage segments, it's like, that's just Raw. That's Raw or SmackDown. Like, you don't need to do that. I really like that. And I like how it's giving these matches and the performers a chance to shine, and not every title is defended.
Mm-hmm.
Not every storyline is represented.
Yep.
And I like that because it's almost a bit more competitive to see how all of this plays together. I would agree. I think this is very interesting, and I'm digging it. At first, I was a little dubious of like 5 cards, five matches per card. That'll be a little weird. That'll be a little thin. It's working as long as you have the right 5 or 6 matches. It works.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agreed. And, it's funny. I was thinking about this, as I was watching this event, because we talked about with SummerSlam how the 7-match card felt heavy.
Mm.
And I got to go back and look, because I don't know if I'm just making this up, but I'm pretty sure when we were just doing the Big Four back in the 80s, in the 90s, that those were probably 7 to 8 match cards as well.
Oh, at least. There was,
but
then you had some of those. You had some of them where they were running tournaments, and the tournament match is like 3 minutes long.
Right, but that was also during a time where the longest show on network television, or not network television, but cable television, was Primetime Wrestling, which was a 2-hour, essentially house show.
Yeah.
Where they videoed or recorded house show matches and showed them, which with the intent of kind of advancing some of the story that was going on at the time. So I almost wonder if our perspective now is skewed by the fact that you have Raw that's at 3 hours. You have SmackDown that's at is SmackDown 3 or 2? I think 2.
Skewed in what way, though? I'm just curious how you...
Because every week you're getting essentially a pay-per-view worth of, like, you're getting 3 hours of content if you're watching Raw every week. More so if you're watching both shows, right? If you're religiously watching the shows, when you get to an event that's like 7 matches long like that, it just there's just this fatigue that sets in because you've seen so much.
True.
Whereas in the past, we saw a little bit, like like an aperture of a camera, right? We saw a little bit, and then the pay-per-view kind of opened it up a lot to here's all the superstars 7 or 8 matches long, and it's like, oh, I give me the content, give me the content.
Oh no, true.
You know what I mean? Like so it's something I was thinking over the weekend, because this was the right length. This was a great length, and the matches and the length of the matches were better served by the fact that there were less matches, to use the time.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's why I think I think you make a good point, and I think that's why it's important that the PLEs, what used to be pay-per-views, are different. That the format is different. That we're not doing the backstage vignettes. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. The matches aren't shorter. You're not having 5 or 6 in-ring promos or whatever. It's just the matches. I think that's what then makes this special. It makes all of it makes the entire event have a big fight feel, instead of just occasionally you get one of the matches. You're like, all right, this is a thing. Like, no, the entire event feels like an event, and it doesn't hurt that when they're doing these, especially like in a European or overseas location, where the crowd is fracking hot.
Yes. Oh my
that
gosh.
Doesn't hurt either.
Nope.
We'll talk more about that at the main event.
Well, between that and the sports-like presentation they're doing now,
yes,
which I texted you. I mean, and it's so stupid. It was just the beginning of the event, but I'm just watching it, and they're showing like Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley walking in with their suitcases in tow. Rhea Ripley didn't have any makeup on; she's just walking with them. There was something that just it just changes the optics of when you watch this. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't feel like a carny entertainment show anymore. It feels like not that I would ever view them as the same as like UFC fighters, because obviously UFC is legit, fighting, not scripted, right?
Yeah.
And these are characters, but nonetheless, it's like it hypes you up a little bit. It's like, these are people I'm invested in. These are talent that I want to see whoop on other talent, and it's different from the crappy carny stuff that Vince just wouldn't let go of,
Yes.
And the one thing that kept echoing through my head over the weekend is, and I like to be someone who looks forward and not back, but how much did Vince rob us of over the last decade from a talent perspective and from a story perspective? Because how many talent got screwed by his lack of vision, and how many stories got screwed or twisted or whatever because he was in control. Because now that we're seeing what's playing out here, I mean, holy crap, they're telling like phenomenal stories with these characters. They're doing wonderful character development, and it's just it's a pleasure to watch. It's fun. You get into it, and I actually find myself invested in, sometimes emotionally in how the matches play out, because it's like I want to see certain people win or lose, knowing that it's all kind of predetermined. You know what I mean? Like they're doing their jobs well. So
yeah, they hook you even though it's similar to, excuse me, got like got some sort of fuzz or something that just won't leave.
You got some bitters over there?
No, maybe I need some. Straight on my mustache. But they're managing to do what movies do. Like, a movie is a movie, but yet you can get lost in it.
Right.
And the same with this when it's done well, and I think they're doing it well. Obviously, they're getting great ratings. They've got a lot of big things happening here. I mean, I completely forgot the fact that, SmackDown is shifting to USA Network, I believe this week or next week. And because the Netflix deal doesn't start for Raw until January, for the next 3.5 months here, we're going to USA owns all of the WWE content, which is kind of an odd thing when you think about it. But they're doing it really well. And I think it just comes, I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole Vince thing. We've said enough about Vince, and quite honestly, the less said about him, the better at this point.
Sure. Yeah.
But briefly, my point is, I don't know how great of a booker Vince ever was. I think that, he did well building and then having all of the talent for quite a while, or, the majority of the talent that was not in Jim Crockett or WCW. And that benefited him. However, everyone has an expiration date.
Yeah.
Whether you're the athlete, whether you're the coach, at some point, Chuck Noll stopped winning Super Bowls. Don Shula stopped winning Super Bowls. Bill Belichick stopped winning Super Bowls. It just happens. Like, there's a combination of age and the game passing you by, and you just become more inflexible no matter how much you try. And you're just not able to do what you did before. And obviously, Vince was way past his expiration date. And someday it'll happen to Triple H, So, but for the meantime, like right now, we are getting like something that is so radically different that it's jarring when you think about it.
Yeah.
To think about what's being booked now by Triple H, as opposed to like 2-3 years ago, what was being booked by Vince, and we were complaining about it and just shaking our heads at it. It is. I don't know that night and day is a drastic enough comparison. But yeah, it is something, because again, like a show that I didn't get a chance to really watch any of the TV in between here, and yet pulled me right in.
Yeah.
Right from the get-go. And I'm like, with a match that was like kind of like, well, why are these two guys fighting?
Yeah.
But filled in and then took right off, and it worked. So yeah, it was a rather amazing thing they're doing, I guess.
It is.
All right, shall we get into it, sir?
Let's get into it, my friend.
All right, match one on the card. Let's get this right out the chute. We have an undisputed WWE Championship match. If not best buddies, at least pals. Cody Rhodes defending against Kevin Owens. And Cody coming out on top on this one, which was, very interesting story told to this. Apparently the line being that on TV that week that Owens had said that Cody's leg wasn't good, and was that going to be a thing? And then at the last quarter of the match, it really became a thing, and we got kind of the conflicted Kevin Owens going there. And who was it? Was it Wade Barrett really healing it up in terms of like chastising KO
to the point where KO was like, "Shut up!"
Yeah. Which all made it very interesting, because this is like, in a way, it's fun. It's fun to watch this because we've seen how this can play out, and how it can play out poorly, both ways, where it's a bad heel turn or it's he just can't pull the trigger on his friend. Like, this actually felt like the way that the announcers were working it, the way Kevin Owens was working it, the way Cody Rhodes, like it felt like it was a well-rounded story, even though it kind of was built not, I won't want to say hastily. this hasn't been running for 5-6 months. Like, they needed to do something here to keep Cody away from the bloodline for a little while.
Right.
And they had a hell of a match, and entertaining as all get out. This was, again, the one that my wife was watching, and she was getting pissed with all the near pins. She's like, just pin somebody.
Wow.
Like, just get this thing over with.
That's investment, baby. That's investment.
It was like they sucked her in for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, this is kind of amazing. But no, I didn't take any notes on this because I didn't plan on us talking about this. But that whole moment when Cody goes up to the top rope and can't, has to jump back down because his leg is, bothering him and all that. And then Owens not taking advantage of it, like that dramatic moment. Cause I'm like, I mean, it's not like KO ain't turned on people before. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, is it going to happen here? Is it going to, and again, I felt like it just played out really well. Like it did. It played out really well in the way of recognition of what was going on and all that. And even at the very end, when there was that handshake of respect, I was waiting for the stunner.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the stunner,
yeah.
But it didn't happen. But again, we've sown seeds for down the road, a possibility. What'd you think of the match?
So there's kind of two perspectives you can take on this. One is, as you've brought up, there was an interesting story they were telling in Owens not giving into the killer part of himself, that he respects Cody too much. He's a friend. He wants, and I like one thing that I think saved the story of this match is how they brought out the fact that when he won the Universal Championship, it was tainted by the fact that he only got it because of Triple H, that it wasn't because of his own merits when he won the Universal Championship. What was it, 8-9 years ago?
7 years. That was what they were talking about.
Was that 7 years ago? Okay. Yeah. So, but I like how they threaded that in there, because without that, if it was just about, well, I respect Cody or Cody's my friend, that would have felt a little lame. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't just the fact that Cody was his friend. It's like he wanted to prove that he could do this without excuse, without any sort of asterisk, next to it. And that to me salvaged the part of because they're playing a very dangerous game when they get into a face versus face battle, because you got to have a compelling story around it. Yeah. This is what happened with AJ Styles, I think, is that there was too much of this, I respect you too much. And maybe it was different with Styles because Styles is somewhat of the legend and Cody is the present, right? And so you have that kind of the present versus the past in a way. Although it feels weird to call AJ Styles the past, you know what I mean? He's way more active than I am, and he's probably closer to my age than anything else. But anyways, so there's that part of it. And then the other way you can look at it is this was kind of a weaker championship match because it was so based on good guy being good guy, good guy against good guy, and kind of, keeping with the honor piece of it and all of this sort of stuff. I watched SmackDown and the promo between the two of them, and there's a point at the very end when Owens leans in and says something into his ear that we don't hear. And the last thing Cody says has to do with their friendship. And I almost want to say that Owens, when he leaned in to whisper something in his ear, basically said something to the effect of, but champions don't have friends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he really said that, but there was something in the way he was talking where I kind of like, I'm applying that to it. Like telling Cody, like, look,
for you.
Right. Like telling Cody basically like, look, you can think we're all your friend, but you're the heavyweight champion and that's the prize we all want.
Yeah.
So, something's got to give at some point, and so I think they did a good job with the match. I think they need to be careful moving forward, continuing to go down this road where he's challenging his friends because he wants to reward them for their loyalty or the way that they, stood by his side or whatever his reasoning is. I think they're doing fine with his character in terms of, him, the story behind this always was, Kevin has been by my side, but he also hasn't been given an opportunity in a long time. And I think he deserves this, it's not Cody taking pity on him. It's Cody respecting him, and trying to honor who he is. And I think they've done a good job with it, but they got to be careful with it. And I don't know if they're going to go down that road with Orton or not. I mean, Orton, I think, is next. I think there's going to be an Orton-Cody match, and that's going to have an amazing story with it because of the history the two of them have.
I think that comes after a Cody heel turn, don't you?
See, I think Randy's going to go heel first, though, I think is the problem. I think they might have him do that.
I mean, at this point, like Randy it feels like he's at his most lovable as a personality right now. Maybe it was just from watching the main event. I don't know what it is, but it seems like people love them some.
He's
Randy
having
Orton
fun.
Right
now. He is having an absolute blast.
He is totally playing with house money at this point.
Oh yeah.
And is so comfortable in like what he can do, and also just like doing what he does. It's got to be like this. I'm on. I could go on autopilot, but I'm going to really enjoy being in the moment.
So, but I could also see from the way this match went, how this could lead to Kevin going to a dark place, because now he didn't achieve his goal. He was honorable. He did the right thing, and it ended up biting him in the long run. And you could see on his face too at the end of the match, he's like, I could have had this if I had done things differently.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And so which is compelling. It's good storytelling. And I think, I think it did its job. The action of the match was good. I think they told a good story throughout the match. There was something lacking a little bit, but I guess it was made up for in the way, they were kind of playing the Kevin story out.
Yeah.
So I it's not that I didn't like the match, but I was hesitant because of the fact that I didn't feel like there was a strong story, at least going into it. I think coming out of it, I could see what they did and why they did it that way. And so I felt it was definitely well done. So
right on. What do you give it for a rating?
I'm probably going to give it, I would give it 4. I think it was a strong opener. I think it was a strong opener.
I'm kind of surprised because I was going to go with a 4 myself, and I'm surprised that you went with. I was expecting something in the 3s because just the way you kind of downplayed it there at the end.
No, I mean, I thought overall the action was really well done. I mean, that's the thing with these events now is the pacing is so much different, and they're letting, and you said it best, they're letting these matches breathe. They're giving them time. They're not rushing things. They're letting these performers have the space to do the storytelling they need to do in the ring. And it's incredible how the product has just changed from it. It's so much better now. So much better.
Yeah, I can see how overall it would even be a morale boost, even though there's fewer people on the PLE.
Yeah,
I imagine overall it's a matter of like, okay, I didn't make the PLE, but when I do, I'm going to get a chance. I'm going to get a chance to shine. Like I'm going to get a chance to actually go out there and not be like, oh, by the way, your 10-minute match got cut 5 minutes because this promo went over and this and that and the other. So yeah, go out there and do a solid 5 minutes,
right,
and everything you planned, all is, either in fast forward or it's out the window.
Right.
I'm guessing that in some ways has to be a morale boost.
Yeah. They have to make these events feel different than the free TV shows where they are doing the faster matches because they have so much they got to cram into them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
And it makes sense. Like
100%.
Because I wonder if SmackDown is going to go to 3 hours now that it's on USA. And if
honestly, they got to get away from 3 hours. They got to go back to 2.
You think so?
They got to go back to 2. I mean, I know it limits their time and who they can give, camera time to and TV time to, but I really think it is a boondoggle right now for them, like an albatross around their neck, to have to do 3 hours of TV every single week. That just feels excessive to me.
Well, I mean, they're doing 5.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, they're doing 5, and they're telling good stories, no doubt. But I do feel like I think there could be a tighter show to tell or to present.
Yeah.
If they had less time and had to make hard decisions,
I think it'll be interesting when they go to Netflix how that'll change the format, because
that is really going to be fascinating what happens when they go there, because there's no filter at that point, my friend.
Well, not even from that, not even from a filter standpoint. I mean the actual format of television, because I've seen way too many shows that still, I think Ted Lasso is doing it, still adhere to and here's a fade out where there would be a commercial break, because I'm
Mhm.
guessing that they're farming this show out to wherever it's not available on streaming. Maybe they're just writing it with the idea that maybe it'll air on TV somewhere or on cable or whatever at some point. But it feels like a lot of stuff is not taking advantage necessarily of the streaming platform
Right.
to that degree, or that there's still some holdouts. And I'll be curious if WWE, given how much time they've had since they know they're going to make the shift, come January, they're going to be like, Raw is now completely different. Like, you're not cutting in the middle matches. You don't have the easy way out of different things. Like, how is all that going to work?
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that they can now cuss and do whatever they want, which I think is going to be downplayed a little bit, because they're still going to want some. They're going to want some sponsorships, and people are still going to want to make sure, like, hey, you're not going to be like, having the Godfather 2.0 coming out with like hose with their things out, and then like, hey, here's this product sponsoring. Like, no. I think that'll be interesting, and I wonder how that will then force them to change somewhat how they're doing SmackDown, or if there will be a change, because then they're like, well, we can't have Raw be completely tonally different than SmackDown.
Yeah.
I think all that's going to be real interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
Yep.
All right, second match up, I believe, was the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill against the unholy union of was it Isla Dawn and something
Ilba Fire?
Yeah. First of all, one team needs a name, the other team needs a better name. Cargill and Belair need some kind of a name, and they need to agree on a theme music, because this having one come out and then the other come out because they both need to have their
It
theme
is
music,
weird, yeah.
Especially where Cargill's entrance is so like theatrical. Like, something's got. I know they tried to mishmash the themes together, and they've tried a couple different things, and it's like it's not great.
Yeah,
it's just not great. You need to have, like, it's nice that they at least coordinate kind of the ring gear to kind of make them a team, but I know that eventually there's going to be a heel turn, but until then, can we at least try and coordinate a touch?
Yeah.
And then the Unholy Union has got to be one of the dumbest tag teams names ever. Why not just go with Fire and Dawn? Like, that would have, I think that's a perfectly great
Fire and Ice.
Like, it's better than the Unholy Union.
I know.
Like, because it's like, you're both not that much of, neither of you are that much of a badass.
I feel like they were kind of a pity win when they were in, was it?
So they were in Scotland, and that's when they got, but the thing is, like, they were a worthy pity win. Like, I think it was made much more sense for them to win the belts, because they're a decent team.
But did they do anything with them after that? Is the thing?
Well, no, because they haven't done anything with the women's tag belts in like a year worth of damn. And that's just, I mean, that's the way it goes. But anyways, it would have helped, I think, a little bit having a better name. I think they're a pretty damn good tag team. But I mean, it's all dependent on what you're actually going to do with that division. But at any rate, of course, Cargill and Belair defeat the Unholy Union. We have new tag champions. There were some good moments in this, and there was some meh. I think Fire and Dawn really work well as a team. I think Cargill, for the just how outstanding her look is, her presence, all of those things. She is still not green as grass, but she is definitely on the greener side of things than not. And it really shows in a match here where it's like, Belair's been around a while. These two other ladies have been around a whole long while. Not in WWE, but they've been wrestling quite a while. They're polished and they work well as a team. And Cargill's kind of the odd woman out here. As witnessed by the fact that Belair was playing, what was it? Was it Ricky Morton in the Rock and Roll Express?
Yes.
It was the one who always took the ass kickings.
Ricky Morton was always getting beat.
Belair was Ricky Morton.
Or I should say beat on.
And she got the hell beat out of her, which is funny when you just consider the fact that, like, just from a size perspective, like, Cargill and Belair should have been like tossing these two around into like the 10th row easily, like frisbees. But anyways, they made it look somewhat believable. But overall, I mean, it was a match to get the belts on Belair and Cargill, and I think that we're now heading down the road to a Belair heel turn, and that'll be what it is, and who knows? Maybe that'll help juice this whole thing up. I don't know. We're still not going to get a whole lot of attention paid to the tag team belts for the ladies. That's my thought. Yeah. But anyways, what did you think of this match, sir?
No, I mean, I don't have anything really additional to bring to what you've already said. I mean, the writing was on the wall for this one. They were putting the straps back on Cargill and Belair for another run that's hopefully a bit longer than what they had before. They are essentially a division killer kind of a team, and so I'm hoping when they are unseated, it's either I shouldn't say this, that they're unseated to an opponent that is worthy of getting those straps, but also to your point, I think it's going to be when they have the split. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be when Belair, for one reason or another is jealous of the young upstart who is Cargill, and it's going to be, again, the future versus the present, soon to be the past sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Now, it's weird to call Belair the past because she's still so young and so in the present.
By the way, AJ Styles, 47 years old.
Hey, I'm older than him. And
Bianca Belair is 30. Bianca Belair is 35? No way.
Damn. How old Jade Cargill?
Wow, Jade Cargill's 32.
Okay.
I thought she was younger than that.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. Of course, Rhea Ripley, 27. Yeah.
Rhea Ripley's 27 and she's done as much as she's done in the industry?
That is why.
Holy crap.
She's not just like one of the best. She's not just like the best in the women's division. Like overall right now, she is one of the hottest wrestlers on the planet.
Okay, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I have to say props to her and to the fan base. When she had Dominic locked up in whatever leg lock she was doing at the top of the turnbuckle there, and they bring the decibel meter in.
Oh yeah.
To show that the crowd was going over 100 cheering for whatever, hell she was raining upon Dominic Mysterio. That was phenomenal. I'm sorry. I mean, they brought it in for an entrance, but for them to bring it in just for a move she was doing to a male wrestler was phenomenal.
Well, there's three things behind that. Number one, Rhea Ripley is hotter than anything right 100%. Now. Two, Dom is heel heat on two legs.
Did you see the meme I sent you or the reel I sent you from Undertaker on that on Dom?
I probably did
on Instagram. He's just like all in the bag on Dom.
And
he goes even further and says he's got that crazy mullet thing going on, and he's got the bad mustache. He's like he is a heat magnet.
Oh yeah, he's more than he's like a heat neutron. He's cold fusion heat. Yes. That is what he is. He is just generating out of nowhere. He is splitting atoms of heat and creating more heat. So you got Rhea's part and then you got Dom's part in there. And let's face it, there's a lot of thirsty Rhea fans out there who are wishing that they were Dom in that moment.
Well,
there's that contingent of fans as well.
I'm not in that contingent. I respect her for her work. That's what I respect her for.
I'm gonna just say it, and there it is. Wow.
All right, but going back to the women's tag match. Bianca
Belair is 5'7". I thought she was taller than that.
Wow.
How tall is Jade Cargill? Oh, she's 5'10". Yeah.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead here and just say, hey, my rating on this one is probably around a 3.0.
Yeah. I want to give this more. I'm going to go 3.25, and
that's fine.
I'm giving an extra quarter mostly because I think Bianca did a hell of a job selling and bouncing around.
It was not an average match. It was above average, but I don't think it was in the realm of any sort of 4-star match. You know what I mean? It was low 3s at best. And
it did exceed my expectations, but my expectations were very low.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have. Daddy, if you will, we got the strap match.
Oh, my, ladies and gentlemen.
CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. The stakes, a 50-cent friendship bracelet from the
talking about New York Strip here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my! I gotta pour another bourbon for this one. Holy moly!
So
you know what? I think the gauntlet has been thrown down for the company that does the WWE 2K24 game. Whatever they're doing for 25, they need to have a strap match because they have now gamified it the way that they did it.
How in the hell do you like? What are like the game physics of actually having a strap that would work and tie those two together like that? There's, that someone was like a developer has been working on that, and that there was a call made after that, like,
well,
hey, we want to get that in 2K25, and the guy's just, he's like literally like with his glasses like
here's what they did. So by having the lights up on every corner,
that was brilliant,
and having the rules established that, look, when you go and tap the corners, if your opponent interrupts your momentum, everything gets reset. So you now have some deterministic rules around how this match works, which is if you tag, and I love the part during the match too, when Punk is on his back. And this is not a new thing. Like, this has been done in strap matches in the past where the heel is going around tagging the corner with the face on his back or attached to him somehow, and the face is tagging behind him without him knowing about it.
Yeah.
But they did it so well. The drama was incredible. And I really like the viciousness of this match. I loved McIntyre just laying into Punk right away. This was just, I think one of the criticisms...
before they even got the strap on, like literally it was like beating the hell out of him outside the ring and then yelling at the ref like, put it on, like,
right,
he's dead.
And basically like what I read was one of the criticisms of the SummerSlam match was it didn't feel like it carried the weight of the story in terms of the violence. It was a little bit more tame than I think what fans were expecting. I love the SummerSlam match. I thought it was the right story. I thought it was the right match to tell, given that you had a special referee. But this strap match, that was vicious, man. There was some vicious action going on, and no, I mean, you can't fake those whips, those whippings that are going on between the two of them. So no, and I thought they got very inventive with how to. I mean, I love how they have the, like, I don't know if this is anything different from any other strap match where it was a 13-foot long strap, but it allowed them to do different situational things that were, I don't know, I had never seen in a strap match in the past. You know what I mean? Like I'd never seen those sorts of things play out where you had one guy outside and the other one inside doing whatever. So anyways, this match for me, this and like I think the Gunther Orton match were just my two favorites of the night because and again, the story here is incredible, and Punk and McIntyre, enough cannot be said about how they have both elevated the story throughout this entire year and made this like into a blood feud. Not to mention what happened on Raw last night, which I don't know if you saw that.
I did not, but which I just
freaking amazing.
Before we jumped on, I just happened to be looking through YouTube and I saw a clip. I'm like, I don't have enough time.
Oh my God. Well, let me just say this: breaking the friendship bracelet and shoving the bees into your opponent's mouth and then laying your finisher on them. I mean, come on.
Thanks. Spoilers.
Dude, come on.
But yeah, this was a really good match, and I love how they didn't let Punk, once again in the way that he let himself get the better of himself.
Yeah.
In the SummerSlam match, it was different this time.
They teased it.
Oh, they did.
They teased it.
They did. And ultimately he didn't, which I thought again it made him look strong, which you have to have a little bit of a give and take in something like this, otherwise it becomes like Red Sox Yankees pre-2004, where it's like it's not a rivalry. That's when both sides have a chance of winning. The Red Sox had no chance of winning in any of those years. Like it wasn't competitive really. No. Thank God. Thank God for Tim Wakefield and Poppy. But anyways, no, this was a great match. I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna say 5 stars. I thought I did. I'm doing it. What do you got?
Damn. Well,
don't let yourself be swayed here, sir. Go with your
heart.
No,
I was going to go 4 or 5, but I honestly, I agree with you. I think this was, strap matches in the past have not come off very well. And I think this one, with the players involved, you could just tell they both put on a entertaining, and so not only an entertaining show, but just it advanced the story where it needed to go. We got, I'm glad they did the whole thing where he got the bracelet back,
Mm-hmm.
because we can, and then I know I spoiled what happened on Raw the next night, but we got to move past that. You know what I mean? We have to get to a place where it's really just viscerally between the two of them, and not any of this other, drama garbage on the side. And, I really think this is heading toward a Hell in a Cell match is where this is going, which I think is going to be very compelling given the hatred. Like, I don't think a Hell in a Cell match has had two people that have this much animosity toward each other. You know what I mean? Like, they've had some interesting feuds in the past. I mean, Mankind and Undertaker, which is the one we always go to because of Mankind getting thrown off the cage,
didn't really have that much heat going into it, though.
Right. Like, it wasn't a visceral, God, they hate each other. It's okay, Mankind's been, mistreated by the Undertaker or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, or vice versa. But the fact that they made this match as compelling as they did, and played it out the way that they did, I loved at the end, Punk, when he was going around hitting the corners, he was hitting a GTS. I don't know if he did every corner or if it was every other.
Almost,
corner.
Yeah.
He
hit a bunch.
But giving, credit to Drew McIntyre for manning up or being professional enough to let that be the ending to the match. You know what I mean? Like, not a lot of guys would let themselves get annihilated like that.
Yeah.
And, as much as the two of them say they hate each other, I mean, professionally, they've got to respect each other to trust each other that way, because Punk lets him get the first win at SummerSlam, knowing they are playing into Bash at Berlin, gets the win here. And now, we don't know where the story is going to go. I could see an option either way, with McIntyre winning the feud or Punk winning the feud, but either way, I mean, this has just been an absolute pleasure to watch. So I got to go 5-0 with you. It was a phenomenal match and lived up to the hype, and the crowd was into it 110%.
Oh yeah.
So I'm with you on that one. That was a damn near perfect match the way they did it, especially with a story behind it.
Indeed. And then in what could be then determined to be the crowd could have been totally tapped out, they put this match in. I mean, good God.
Bring in the heat magnet, baby.
Anyone in Berlin have a voice the day after this event?
It was quiet in Berlin the next day.
We have mixed tag team match. Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, the Terror Twins, taking on Dirty Dom Mysterio and Liv Morgan. Wow.
Can I just say this? When I watched the beginning of the event, and I mentioned about how we saw Priest and Ripley walking in, kind of as themselves, not all gimmicked up for the show. They also did a shot over to Dominic and Liv had her glasses on. And there's something about seeing her with the glasses on.
Oh, she was a completely different looking person.
I'm like, you're so like normal like the rest of us, you know what I mean?
It is one of those things where like there are those moments when you see like they said was it Zoe Deschanel?
Yes.
Like seeing her with and without bangs, like it makes you realize like how everyone could believe that Clark Kent wasn't Superman just with the glasses on and off. Liv Morgan, the same thing. Like she is a totally different person with the glasses on. Yeah. Maybe it's the style of the glasses. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, who are you again? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Actually, one thing, going back to the last match, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe I'm hallucinating this. Didn't Punk have McIntyre in the sharpshooter?
Yes.
And McIntyre was trying to tap, and then he was trying to rope break and everything else to try and get out of the hole. And the referee had to be like, no.
Right. And at one point, he verbally says to the referee, have him break the hold. And he's like, I can't.
Yeah.
And no, I'm glad you went back to that. I missed this point, but that was brilliant freaking psychology right there, because that is one of the nasty aspects of this match is you can make your opponent pass out. The referee has no no need to break the hold out of the fear of safety for the opponent. It's like, yeah, if you pass out, you pass out. And I thought that was a brilliant way to work that in.
Oh yeah, it was great. It kind of showed the viciousness of the match and
Absolutely.
raised the stakes. And again, was one of those things that if you told them, oh, you only have 8.5 minutes,
Right. Yeah.
You don't get a chance to put someone in the sharpshooter for that long.
No.
You don't get the chance to do some of these things and build up to that. And that is
a credit to their creative and their storytelling right now, because if you have there's no title involved.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I was probably more invested in that match than and I hate to say it this way, because I don't mean to have it sound the way it sounds, but I was more invested in that match than I was the women's tag match because of the story.
Well, yeah.
Because of the story. If there was a good story behind the women's tag match, I think it would have been a different situation. But the story is just that's the thing. Story makes everything.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about that with BSG.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that with a number of things. Story makes everything.
Well, and the characters make the story.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because I rewatched the CM Punk Best in the World documentary.
Phenomenal documentary, by the way.
And it's interesting, some of the things that he goes through there, and in moments when he's like, yeah, they said that this match, this feud needed the belt.
Yeah.
And, and then Michael Hayes, they're talking about, well, some feuds transcend a championship and this and that. And I'm like, wow, isn't that interesting hearing it now? Because again, like you can have, these guys have been feuding over a fracking friendship bracelet.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they've orbited around the title, but it really was, the title was a bit of a launching point, and actually not even a launching point. It was just an elevation of the feud without either one of them really possessing it for very long.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's interesting how this works, and how, again, like you have someone like Punk who is, you got to be dedicated to this, to be doing this at his age after going through as many, surgeries as he has. He has other career options. The dude can talk like nobody's business, so he could go be a commentator for whatever he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He has to love this to keep doing it at his age, and to be doing some of the stuff he's doing. It's remarkable, and it's obvious that he is having some degree of creative input on this. And like you said, like on screen, these two hate each other, but they've got to have a lot of respect for each other to be trading back and forth. So giving back and forth, understanding like, dude, yeah, I'm gonna come out looking the worst on this, but we're just turning up the heat on this thing every single time. Like it's my turn to take the downtime now. You know what? You do business, and now it'll be your turn pretty soon.
Right.
It's beautiful to watch.
Absolutely.
All right, back to the mixed tag. So yeah, this was amazing, because when you think about it, you have in this match, you have the current women's heavyweight champion. You have the most recent, before Gunther, men's heavyweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
And all anyone really wanted to see was the other two get their paws on each other. Or mostly just Rhea get her paws on Tom.
I gotta ask you.
And to be able to have like that story then orbiting around these other two and have it all kind of work, it's a strange stew, but damn if it wasn't fun.
Absolutely. And I gotta ask, and I was listening to her entrance music today as well. Just, I needed something to listen to, and I'm just like, is there anyone with better, like, I think about the live presentation of Rhea Ripley. She's got like the best entrance music, I think, next to maybe CM Punk.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think about the way she's presented to the fans, us at home and us, and then, the fans at the event, at these events. And it's just like, how can you not get behind her? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so amazing what they've done with her.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Whatever it is,
yes,
that indefinable it, that is that extra gear of charisma and appeal.
Mm-hmm.
She's got it.
Yeah,
and she has unlocked it, and now is able to. You can see this
27 freaking years old. That's incredible.
This comfort of her, in front of the crowd, and it is fun to watch. because she knows she
100%.
has them right there. I mean, for God's sake, you had a German audience cheering, "We want mommy!" Like,
Yeah.
and she's on the ring apron just loving it,
Oh, yeah.
playing it up. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. As long as things stay really good for her health wise, knocking on wood.
Well,
I
and
mean,
like I
sky's the
mentioned,
limit.
like no one else during that event got an individual like decibel level overlay during the event other than her.
Yeah.
And all she was doing was leg locking Dominic Mysterio's head.
Yep.
While she was up on the top turnbuckle.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd went freaking insane. It was incredible to watch. And I'm like, and again, I'm not trying to make this because it's a woman and how can she get this, but it's one of those things that it's like, this is how far we've come. Like, she is so over, like you mentioned, she's one of the most popular talents in the company. And yeah, I mean, it's so enjoyable to see, you know what I mean? And to see her, you know, and for the fans to see her get some measure of vengeance on Dom after what he did at SummerSlam was, you know, part of the payoff there, you know, which was just absolute, you know, glee as she beat the hell out of him.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, right now, I mean, what if you were to chart the top 5 most popular talents in WWE, I'd say Cody is still number 1. He's still over like Rover. CM Punk is 2.
Oh God, yeah,
easily.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can make a case for Rhea being 3. And that's an absurd notion considering, you know, back in like the late 90s when I started, you know, watching wrestling again and where women's wrestling was at that point.
Oh God.
Compared to now?
Yeah.
Like you have, I mean, of course,
women's wrestling was like the sideshow mud bath sort of stupid, you know, thing. You know,
until we got Lita, and then even then it was still
Lita and Trish. Lita and Trish were the
well later, mid to late career Trish Stratus. I mean, the first couple of years were kind of rough. Like she did a hell of a job, like learning herself up. She did. I mean, and I think she's even said it before. Like she worked her ass off to get good. But then to look now where it's like it literally is like one of the women's wrestlers is arguably the 3rd most popular person in the company. And it's not just because she walks out with like, you know, and it's not Jerry Lawler, puppies. It's like, it's not a Sable situation. It's people are compelled by her character. They are compelled by her work. You know, it's the entire package. And it's kind of mind-blowing when I put it in that perspective. But yeah, no, it makes total sense because you have her and then you have Dom. People just love to hate.
Oh
even though I think a lot of people they understand the whole game, but it's just like it is fun to hate Dom Mysterio. It is just fun. Like I find myself hating on him, and I'm like, I know how this works, and I've heard he's a very lovely individual, meeting fans and all this stuff. Married his high school sweetheart. Like by all accounts, he's a hell of a guy, stand-up guy in real life. But man, I do love hating on him when I'm watching him on TV. It's great. So it totally makes sense. Like you would like in the production truck where they're like, get that decibel meter thing. This is going to be good. It's definitely going to jump around a little bit here. Watch.
Indeed.
Oh man.
Indeed.
But yeah, that was a fun match, man. And there was just so much back and forth. The one thing I felt was a little underexplained was that so when one of the women was tagged in, then automatically the other woman is tagged in. I felt that aspect of it kind of didn't get explained. So it was a little odd at first where I'm like, well, there wasn't a tag.
Yeah.
You know, why? But I mean, it makes sense because I mean, you don't want to end up with Liv in there against Damien because then it's like, well, what's he going to do? Dribble her like a basketball? Like,
right.
You know, although that did the face off that they did have at one point was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he was just like, man, I don't want to, but man, you are pushing some buttons right now.
Yep.
Like you were, I want to hook you into the 20th row.
The only problem I have though, is that both on Raw and on this event, Priest and Ripley have been victorious. So it's like, like you have to have a give and take with this a little bit. You know what I mean? And maybe they're headed in that direction a little bit, because I noticed last night on Raw there was something that happened with Ripley where her like leg is injured now or something like that, and maybe Liv's responsible or something. But
yeah, she got hung upside down the ropes or something.
yeah,
I caught something on Instagram, but yeah.
So I mean, that's I mean, for this match, the right team won, but leading up to the event, I would have expected it to be more of the shenanigans, and the shenanigans costing them the match, so that when they won at the event, it meant a little bit more, But the fact that like Ripley and Priest had beaten them already, like on Raw, I just felt like it devalued it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like it's not as big of a deal to me. Again, match was great. I thought the crowd response to it was great as well. I thought they structured the match very well, but it's just like, there's got to be some challenge that they're trying to overcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if the PLE were in anywhere but like a Europe, like a overseas market, like if it had been in Cincinnati, I think they might have done that story differently, and it would have been more along the lines of what you're doing. I think with the PLE, knowing that crowd is going to be on fire for whatever, I think they knew they had the extra depth there. They had the extra reserve of heat to say, let's do this a little differently. Yeah. Let's let him get over a couple times, and then we'll kind of do something, and then we'll really torture Rhea, or we'll really torture Damien, and we'll send him down. We'll have our empire ending at some point, rather than doing it beforehand. Like maybe they're thinking this gives us an opportunity to structure things a little bit differently. I don't know. I have a feeling that might have played into it.
Yeah.
That's just my initial inkling. What do you rate this one, sir?
I'm going to go with, I'm going to say 3.75.
I'm going with just a straight up 4 stars.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it wasn't a technical masterpiece, but it was still a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. Which now brings us to Hometown Hero. This is the fave of the day for this year's PLEs with WWE. Like, hey, who we got? Who's in our hometown?
All right. Before we get into the match, can I just say, in the ring introductions, there's nothing better than when Samantha Irvin's about to introduce someone and you see the hand appear.
Yeah.
And you get Ludwig Kaiser,
out of nowhere, out of thin air.
Which I don't speak German, but when he said whatever he said in German, I don't think I've ever seen the man smile, and he smiled at that. Like after he said whatever he said, it was like, okay, I'm playing up to the hometown crowd.
Well, he's just happy to be cheered for once.
Exactly.
It's kind of nice.
But my God, when he did that introduction for the Ring General, oh my God, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So in this one, we have World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther defending against Randy Orton. My God, the Gunther entrance was, of course, great. Although it's interesting that the hometown guy is still getting booed a little bit in his hometown, even though there was a decent amount of cheering.
And the away guy was getting like crazy decibel levels as he was walking in. That was insane.
I thought they were gonna. They had me faked out. I thought Orton was winning just based on that entrance. Like that entrance was like the lighting.
And they did the video game entrance for that too. Like they did, or I should say they
camera.
They did the in-ring sort of. There was an effect going on there where he was front and center. You know what I mean?
So they're using 8K cameras, an 8K camera when they're doing the championship in-ring intros and stuff, and that was what we had seen before, like a couple of years ago when they were doing that coming down the entrance, and they were using that, and we were like, it's like a video game. Like this is so weird. But they gave him that treatment where I was like, this entrance is taking forever, and they are soaking this.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that again, like we're getting the crowd singing along to his theme song, and I'm like, he's got to be winning. Gunther's gonna lose in his friggin' hometown. Like, damn, this is gonna sting. But no, a badass entrance for him. and that took roughly, like, I thought they were going to have to start playing his music again. It was definitely a long mix.
Yeah.
But I love how we get in the ring. We get the chance, we get a song. We get an entire song sung. Like, this just wasn't
Gosh.
this wasn't like each guy looking out at the crowd. This was like an entire song as they're standing there, and Randy is doing this.
Like, how many times did Randy like applaud the crowd? It was
Well, he
like
did.
2
That
or
was the
3
first time he
times.
did it, when they came out, and he's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
I
that
mean,
was the
they
moment
were
when I'm like,
insane.
this guy is having so much fun right now. You can tell he's like, I never thought I'd be doing this. This is interesting.
Yep.
And then the wave made, I almost fell off my couch when the wave is going around, because they're cheering the match. Like, they hadn't lost complete interest in the match,
No.
but they were split. The crowd has split their attention between the match and doing a wave.
Yes.
And then at one point, Randy participated in the wave while in the ring, and then pointed to Gunther and almost made Gunther break.
Yes.
Like, Gunther probably had teeth marks on the inside of his mouth where he's biting to keep from, because there was a little smile, there's a little smirk, because you could tell he was sort of like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But Randy, like,
That's funny.
that was the moment of the night for me, because I was like, okay, Randy is playing with house money. He is really enjoying himself right now. Fantastic match, though. Fantastic, great.
Oh, yeah.
Great grappling. It flowed, and they really worked well together. The whole bit of Randy's neck coming into things, the working on Gunther's arm. I mean, the whole thing just works so well. That whole the kind of the co-injury angle, if you will, culminating with a finisher that we just don't see in WWE these days. Like, the $1 million dream put him away. I mean, and they did it the right way. It didn't just come out of nowhere and Randy goes to sleep. Like, literally took him putting it on 3 times and beating him in between, being relentless to finally, and the commentators also working with that to explain, like, hey, you just don't jump back from this. Like, it takes a while to recover from this, putting it over to the point of, like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Randy Orton is a freaking cut from stone these days, and it doesn't matter. Like, he's gonna go out.
Yeah.
Well, he's gonna go have a nap at this point. I am a little disappointed that we don't do the 3 arm raises anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like a little, like, the referee basically daintily picks up a pinky and they're like, hey, he's out. That's not very dramatic, but oh well, yeah, overall solid match. What were your thoughts? Because I just spent the last few minutes here like vomiting verbally.
No, I mean, this match brought me back to a lot of main events that I was able to watch on true pay-per-view of Bret Hart. They were longer matches. They were more methodical. They were telling a story. And, what I liked from this one is, especially when you consider Gunther was the one that wins, Randy really dominates a lot of this match. This is showing that Gunther was, in a lot of ways getting his ass handed to him. And, he had his moments, but Randy was really in control for a good chunk of this match. It showed Randy, really going to some desperate lengths. He was doing things on the outside with the announcers table and with other, tactics, to put him away. Which, I think elevated Gunther in terms of what Randy needed to do to put him away. It wasn't as simple as just laying an RKO on him and pinning him. It was, I need to really do some damage to this guy. And then to your point, like the fact that he used a sleeper hold to finish the match in 2024 is just, I mean, we're talking about what Roddy Piper used as his kind of put away maneuver.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But the psychology behind it made total sense. He was wearing him down. This is the brilliance of the creative now. I mean, like all of this and Paul Heyman, I haven't watched the whole interview yet, but there was a Comic-Con. I'm using that term loosely.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago.
It was a fan experience, fan expo or whatever.
Yeah, and he gave an interview there, and I got partway through the interview, but he talked about how everything has a purpose. Now, he was talking specifically about the bloodline, but I think that extends beyond the bloodline to other storylines. And here, you have Gunther working on Randy's neck, on his head, on the fact that he had, that injury that kept him out, and then he puts him away with a sleeper hold, much like he did, Damian Priest, much like he did prior, opponents as well. I love the fact that there isn't a predictable way that Gunther puts opponents away. He puts them away based on the environment and based on the situation that is going on in the match.
Yes.
And that makes him even more dangerous than anyone who's had a telltale finisher, whether it be The Undertaker or whoever, because this is a guy who is going to physically break you down and then take advantage of that breakdown. So being the world champion and being that kind of a individual and that kind of a strategist, I love the Gunther character right now, because this is, he's not unbeatable, but he is in a lot of ways the insurmountable, he is the Everest that someone is going to have to overcome at some point.
He's like the prime New England Patriots.
Yes.
They aren't going to necessarily put you away in a predictable way. They're going to stay in the game for 60 minutes and outplay you, and however they have to beat you, that's the way they're going to beat you that week.
Right.
And I think, almost without ego, without, any kind of, show about it.
100%. And I think this match was about the seasoned veteran, who is using everything at his disposal to put away his younger opponent, getting, in the end, getting upended because his opponent was just that much more patient in terms of the way he chose to put him away. It wasn't that Gunther dominated him. It was just that he got the right shots in at the right time and locked in what he needed to do, to put him away. And I thought the ending was phenomenal. I mean, this was just such a well-told story and a well-done match. I know we put Punk McIntyre at 5, but I mean, honestly, I got to put this at 5. This was such an enjoyable match to watch and take in, and it being a championship match is one of the best that I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah.
With nothing forced, with nothing overdone. It was just
no run-ins,
no
interference. Like, actually, there was no run-ins for this entire show.
Nope. Which shows that if you have a compelling story and you have the right players in place, you don't need all that gimmick. It's really just let the talent speak for themselves, let the match speak for itself, structure it in the right way, tell the right story in the ring. And, it's amazing what ends up happening, shockingly, right?
I know. Quality work, and people actually want to.
So yeah, I'm going 5-0. This is one of the best championship matches I've seen in a long time, and I think the measure of that is I go right to Bret Hart, because Bret Hart to me is the measure, and he had so many amazing matches in the 90s with such a variety of individuals. I see Gunther being that guy. I mean, he doesn't have a bad match with anyone. He has a very good match, and he is, and what I liked about this too is Randy physically too was his equal. This wasn't Chad Gable, and this isn't to dismiss Chad Gable. It's just Chad Gable is physically, when you look at him and Gunther, he's physically a little more diminutive. It's
there's a mismatch there.
It's the reality, right? Randy is his size, if not maybe a little bit more, and
definitely has weight on him for sure.
Oh yeah. And so the fact that you had someone like that who took him to the limit, I think now starts to build the mystique and the aura of Gunther as a world champion versus as him as an intercontinental champion. So.
Oh, totally. This is another legacy making match for the guy.
Yeah, 100%. It was the best first opponent for him to have as champion.
That's right. This was his first title defense.
Mhm.
Wow, I'd forgotten that.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
No doubt. And I agree. 5 stars for me as well. It was a compelling match. There was not a moment when I wanted to fast forward. It had me guessing the whole time because
I think
like
it was
I said,
a 30-plus minute match too.
it would not surprise me. And there wasn't, like I said, sometimes when I'm watching these PLEs, because a lot of the time I start them late, because my wife is not a huge fan, so I kind of wait towards the end of the evening when she's already shuffling off to bed, and then
Did she have any opinions of Gunther?
I tried to get her to stick around because I was like, dude, you want to catch this strap match? And she was like, no, I don't. Okay. Anyways, but so I can get towards the end of these things because they're 3 hours long and start, either nodding or kind of losing focus or wanting to fast forward a little bit because a lot of the time I'm watching them, on a replay. Did not want to reach for the remote once.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, from the strap match on, I was slightly tempted during the tag match, but even then was still really entertained. This one, no, there was no way I was gonna. I didn't even stop this match to pee. Like I watched this like I was watching it live. Like this is interesting. I don't want to miss it. This and Punk were the Punk McIntyre matches of the night. But damn, this one kind of gets an edge because it really was. It was a defining performance for Gunther.
Yeah.
And even for Orton, like there was managed to elevate a guy who's been at this for how many friggin' years now.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave him a little bit of a nudge up as well.
Yep.
That's kind of impressive that you managed to accomplish that. If you had to rank this show, if you had to kind of give this show a letter grade, sir, from A to F, what is your opinion of this show, sir?
I would have to give this, really, let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got to give it like an A- at least. A- at least, because I mean, you had, let's see, 4 stars, women's tag match brought it down a little bit, strap match, mixed tag team match, and then world heavy. It's got to be like A- B+.
I'm going straight up A.
Are you? All right.
Yeah. I mean, partly because this one came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I did not have high hopes for this show. It wasn't like this was an appointment thing for me. I kind of realized this past week, towards the end of the week, like, oh wow, this is the PLE this Saturday. Oh, cool. Maybe I'll have a chance to watch that. I don't have a whole lot of plans.
Yep.
And to get 2 5-star matches, another 4-star, or 2 4-star matches. And then to be like, yeah, the women's match bring it right down a little bit. Both of us gave it above average, which considering the fact that how kind of trash that division has been.
I want to be clear.
Tag.
Nothing to do with the fact that it's women.
No, it's for that.
Unfortunately, of all the matches, this was the one that had the weakest story going into it.
Well, weakest story and the least attention paid to that particular division. The women's tag division really has not had a lot of creative juice flowing there.
So,
of course,
if attention was paid and invested in said story, I think this would be a different rating and situation.
Oh, totally. I mean, but it also comes down to, something is going to be the lesser of all of them, unless everything is a 5-star match. And I hear noise behind me.
Damn it. I was hoping she was going to scare you.
Oh, no, that door is really hard to open quietly. Is it really that chilly out there?
I love how she comes in like covered
not
95%. It's like
Hang on.
ninja level. Wait, is she playing kazoo?
Yes, I was going to be here and talk, but yes.
There's the kazoo. Very nice.
It's either that or she's doing the Russian national anthem like Nikolai Volkov. I get confused sometimes. Oh wait, hang on.
love how she counts it in.
Okay. Anyways, so this isn't a kazoo recital. You had a joke earlier. You were gonna say.
I think it had to do with a kazoo.
Do you have your joke or not?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It's not that good, but
Let's hear it.
Kaylin's Comedy Corner, ladies and
take
gentlemen.
deep breaths so I don't burst out laughing.
Deep breath.
I'm giving you a side eye if you can't tell.
I'm just waiting.
I
What's a
can't
Jawa's
see because
favorite
she's
type
off
of
camera.
pasta?
So
Hang on. Tim was talking. Can you repeat that?
What is a Jawa's favorite type of pasta?
favorite type of pasta. I don't know my pastas well enough to answer.
Utini!
Yeah, dang it.
No.
Jawas are actually Italian.
No, there
Who
you
knew
go.
that?
I got another one.
What would you like with your Alfredo sauce?
Paisan.
I want some utini.
I want some utini.
Oh, you got another one?
It's not a Star Wars joke though, but so originally I ordered a dozen bees, but when I went to the beekeeper, there was 13, and I asked the dude, "Hey, you gave me 13." He said, "Nah, that one's a freebie."
Oh,
That was nice. That
Well
was nice.
done. Well done.
That's much better than Tim's jokes.
Ba-nat-nat-nat-nat.
And much better than the Red 5 trivia that we used to do.
Hey, come on now. Don't be bad-mouthing the Red 5. It was
I
phenomenal.
will badmouth the Red 5 if I want to.
Go back and look at the viewership. It was higher when we were doing it than not. I'm just saying.
Are you heading off to bed?
Well, not immediately. I technically have to go to bed at 10.
At 10, yes.
So I have
It is 9:48 Eastern Standard Time as we speak.
yes, so that is 12 minutes.
Okay, well, you enjoy those 12 minutes.
I will because I'm cleaning my rooms.
Oh, good. Good. What do you got? Oh, you got... Oh, okay. So,
Because the banks.
yeah, you have to have the
gave me
little
my
extra
space.
thingies. That's right. Ah.
Because I didn't anticipate this. I thought that they would like easily go behind my ears, but she lied and she cut them shorter.
Hang on a minute. We need to call up the bus so we can throw the hairdresser under it.
Oh, dear.
All right. Well, you good night. I will if it's before 10, I'll come in. Don't go ahead and play yourself out. Ladies and gentlemen, Kaylin's Comedy Corner and Kazoo Choir.
I was going to say, and Kazoo Choir. There we go. All right. I know we're almost toward the end, but I need to take a bathroom break, sir, which I know is against the norm because you normally take it, but I need to take a breather.
She's still out there playing.
Well, I'm going to go relieve myself.
You go do that. I'm going to go steal her kazoo.
A few moments later.
All right, sir. So we managed to cover the PLE, the play.
Yes, we did. The play.
The plea. What else we got going on here? What do you got for and another thing?
My and another thing is from the Disney Plus. Over summer break, I watched season 2 of Marvel's What If, which I don't know if you had watched it, but it was once again interesting, and provided a kind of outside of the norm perspective on some of the heroes and maybe a different take on some heroes. I think this season especially, there was one episode that focused, I'm forgetting her name, but it was a female Native American hero that we haven't seen in the movies. Really, it was just in that season, which I liked. I liked that they brought her to the forefront, and she ended up playing a role in the finale. But overall, like especially the finale too. The one thing I feel like Marvel has not done a great job with is just when it comes to the animated content is just how they go kind of overboard with the final battles. You know, they're just so like overdone and they feel very over the top. You know, just like so much it's not a violence thing, it's just like at what point does someone finally go down? You know what I mean? It's like there's so much thrown both ways, and it's like, when does someone finally just die? You know?
Yeah.
Because you've done everything. You've unloaded the kitchen sink on them, and yet they still come at you. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that was my only kind of response to the end was, I thought it was interesting what they did, without giving anything away. But I thought it was a bit overdone. And so, so I mean, I would still recommend it. I think it was interesting, to see the stories told and, kind of the outside perspectives, kind of brought to light. But I was a little disappointed by the finale, the last episode, where it just went to a very Japan anime sort of Armageddon, throw everything at the wall sort of fight, where it's like, when does someone finally just go down? It's just like, good God Almighty!
You turned into my wife during the KO Cody match. Like, just somebody get pinned.
Somebody get pinned. So that would be I am recommending it, but I am also kind of giving a little bit of a forewarning that it's a little bit over the top when you get to the finale. But
I think that's, I can see your point for sure, and I respect that opinion. I just feel like, for animation, that's kind of, I look at that as a little bit of a bonus. Like, this is the time to do it.
Yep.
Anyways.
How about you, sir? What is your ending of?
I'm going to recommend yet again a book that I am in process on. However, I'm nearing the end, and I have confidence in this author for sticking the landing, because I've been a fan of his for quite a while. I think I picked this up used somewhere. It might have actually been at my next
door Chicago.
Library.
You use great self-control in Chicago, my friend.
Because I couldn't fit anything in my bag. I would have had to ship stuff home. But it's called America Fantastica by Tim O'Brien. Tim O'Brien, for those of you who have gone through a college English course, is the author of The Things They Carried, which is a very well-known and well-read book by anyone who's taken a college literature course. It's usually kind of used as an example of and here's Vietnam in book form. And it's a very interesting sort of study. But of course, I read that, and then I read several of his other books. Going After Casciato is probably my favorite of his books. Even though this one is a lot of fun, but there's The Lake in the Woods, there's Tomcat and Love. He's a very interesting Love in the Nuclear Age, very interesting cat, and my interest and affection for him as a writer is shaped by the fact that when I was in college, I actually got a chance to go to he was speaking at UNH, and got to go see him in one of the giant lecture halls, and he was just a very interesting person to listen to and to talk about story. And it was the first time that I ever realized, oh wow, an author can have a totally different tone in mind than what I'm reading it as. Because we had read in one of my classes, we had read a short story that I think then ended up becoming part of one of his books. And I read it, and it was this very sad sort of tone that I had. And maybe it was just my teenage angst or whatever at that point. I was probably angry and angsty about something. And then it just so happened, went to this talk, and he read that same passage. And the way he read it, using the tone that he obviously intended while he was writing it, I was laughing my ass off. And my first thought was wow, I can be that far off. And second was this is a really talented dude. Just his writing, and it is one of, if I had to really, you put a gun to my head, would probably find his way into my top 5 authors in terms of just a consistency of beautiful prose throughout their work. This book is very interesting because it is about a bank robbery that really isn't a bank robbery. but is a bank robbery. And one of the main characters, a large cast of characters, but one of the main characters being a compulsive liar, and this also taking place kind of in the 2018 to 2020 range, knowing kind of what has been going on in our world, and alternate facts, and a lot of other things that have now come into being as things that are things. So that all ties into this very interesting stew of characters and events that does a really great job of gaining momentum. And it's beautiful prose to read, but it really does take a while for the story to not get going. It's not that it's plodding; it's always interesting. But towards the end of the book, where I'm at, like I'm in the home stretch, and it really is like it's just becoming this whirlwind, and it's like going down this vortex where you start out and you can kind of feel some momentum, and then it starts picking up, and now we're at that point where it's like you're like you're heading down the pipe in a minute here, and everything is either going to wind up okay or it's all going to blow to hell. And it's 50-50 right now. I got to tell you, it's 50-50 at like chapter 38 or wherever I'm at. And I'm actually anxious to get to the end. I'm kind of parsing it out, but I'm like, I got to find out how this thing friggin' ends up. But it's a great read. I definitely recommend go to your library, get a copy of it. It's, buy a copy of it off Bookshop or whatever. Make sure you get yourself put a few shekels in Tim's pocket. Not this Tim, which way do I normally have? So you'd be on this side of me here, the way I do it on YouTube. But Tim O'Brien, a great book and a lot of fun once you kind of get into a bit of the absurdity of it. The absurdity really starts coming to the forefront in the second half of the book, where you're like, okay, wait a minute, say what? But definitely a great read. Even though I haven't finished it, I have a lot of confidence that Mr. O'Brien is going to land this sucker, and he's going to stick the landing for sure. So that's my recommendation for this show.
Nice. Very nice.
All right, folks, it's time for us to pack this whole thing up. Thank you again for listening and watching. If you'd like to subscribe, you can find us at freerangeidiocy.com. That's our Podbean page. You can find all of our episodes there. You can download one at a time if you'd like, 3 at a time, 4 at a time, all 175 now if you'd like. Go right ahead. Or you can subscribe right there to the Podbean app. If you say to yourself, I got plenty of apps in my life, the only thing I want is mozzarella sticks, which is me, and I can't have them. Then what you can do is you can go to an app that you favor, excuse me, whether that be Apple Podcasts or Amazon or Spotify, Pandora, whatever it is. Search for Free Range Idiocy. You will surely find us. We distribute pretty much everywhere, and even places I'm not aware of. If you want to find us on the YouTubes, you can do that and get these episodes in full video. We do record our lovely mugs. Hey, aren't you? And then you can subscribe and follow our channel there. Thank you. And you can also find us on the other social medias. We are on the Instagram. We are on the Facebook. Both of those are at Free Range Idiocy. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns that you'd like to voice, I mean, let's be honest, I don't want to hear them, so send them to Tim. Tim at freerangeidiocy.com, and he will respond to you forthwith. We'll bring it up on the show. We might even mention your name right here on the interwebs. If that's a thrill for you, hey, we'd love to help you out with that. I mean, it's a cheap thrill, and it costs us nothing, so, hey, why not? And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to, us, and by us, I mean me. Stop blabbering.
The royal us.
The royal us. I probably much prefer the royal taint. Wait, no, I meant something else. No, I didn't. Yes, I did.
Heck?
Those bitters are getting to you now. You're auditory
bitters are getting to you, sir. Dude, good lord.
But anyways, time for me to hand this over to the least idiotic of the two idiots who are on the show. Granted, that's a very low bar to clear, but he clears it with vigor. Ladies and gentlemen, not before I ask the second most important question in all of human history. The first, as we all know, is what is hip? Asked by that great band Tower of Power way back in the 1970s. The second most important being, what in the hell did we learn this episode?
We have learned the following, my friend.
Good. I'm just going to kick back and enjoy this.
Indeed. We have learned that Free Range Idiocy is bullish on Skeleton Crew. It is going to do better than Acolyte, and with any sense of hope, fan base will get their freaking heads in a sensible place.
Yeah. But I wouldn't count on it.
I wouldn't. We've also learned that Uncle Todd is really pulling for Jude Law to be Jorah Sabath because he really wants to see the live-action version of
Jabroni!
Yeah, thank you, Chief. We've also learned, interestingly enough, that Mrs. Uncle Todd, she's getting pulled into the WWE universe little by little. Little by little.
Oh, my.
That's right. That's right. She's going to be...
I don't know why I did that one.
You're the one pressing the buttons. I have nothing to do with that. So it's all on you.
There was no sexy time happening during the PLE. Scouts on her, okay?
Good God almighty. What are you doing, sir?
It was all about chips and dip. It was totally on the level.
We've also learned that Uncle Todd and the man they called Tim bullish on the Punk McIntyre feud, as well as Rhea Ripley as a top draw for the WWE.
Yeah!
And finally, if you have not figured it out, Bash in Berlin, the PLE put on by WWE, do check it out if you have the Peacock. Definitely watch that. It is time well spent. You are seeing quality professional wrestling at its finest. So do check it out. With all that being said, we thank you for your listenership and your support. Mm-hmm. And we do like to close things out here at the range. So be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another. Don't take those bitters straight. Do put them into the bourbon. It will, yeah, that's what Cheeky does when he tries them on their own. If you put it in the bourbon, it's much better. But, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The range is closed, ladies and gentlemen. See ya. Until next time.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
Damn!
You're such a disappointing pair. I prayed so hard for you. Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
So say we all. So say we all.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
I don't get it. I made my house a mess, which was making it clean, which made Squidward clean my yard, but that really means he's messing it up. But the opposite of clean is filth, which means filth is clean. That means Squidward's really making my yard a wreck, but I'd normally wreck my own yard, which means Squidward's being the opposite of Squidward, which means he's SpongeBob. Aha! I understand everything now.
You and those bitters, that just threw me off the entire show.
My God, I figured they were bitter, but it's like, my God,
it's right there in the name.
I know.
That's what I don't like. You're an intelligent man,
but I put
far
it
more
into the
intelligent than I
bourbon,
am.
and it didn't pop the way I was expecting it to.
Well, yeah, but when you put it right down, you gull it. Here, let me inject it right into my my taste buds.
All right, here we go. It's
Are you going to do it again?
I'm going to do it again.
You are going to shat yourself tonight. You're going to have a bitters induced shark.
Oh, holy moly. What have I done?
That's what's going to happen.
Oh.
Your wife is going to wake up in the middle of the night and go, that's it. You're in the garage.
Got to wash it down, baby. Got to wash it down.
What is going on here?
I'm all better now.
Jabroni! Now get the hell out of here!